Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to go over some of the things I witnessed in my terrarium last night. I was up until 2 AM, literally watching on the edge of my seat. From the moment I came into the room and saw my terrarium, I couldn't take my eyes off it. Anyway, before we get into that, I just want to go over my upload schedule and what I'm thinking. I'm considering doing once a week uploads, or maybe twice a week. I still haven't decided yet, but I will let you guys know in my next video. And if you didn't know, I'm doing a raffle which is being drawn this Sunday if you live in New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand. All you have to do to enter is like or follow my Instagram and Facebook, Stan's Micro Jungles, and each like and follow gives you one chance to win the raffle. So if you like on Facebook, that's one chance, and if you also follow my Instagram, that's another chance. So that's two chances to win this custom terrarium. Alright, I'm done talking, jeez. Let's get into it. So obviously insects do most of the activity and hunting and whatever at night, and last night I was reading my book till quite late. I know, whatever, nerd. But yeah, when I came into the room, I noticed that there was just so much activity going on in my terrarium. I first noticed that airwig on the edge of the glass, which has never happened before, and then I look down and I see my millipede next to the pine cone. I love seeing my millipede come out. It doesn't come out very often, it's quite rare. But last night he was out and about, I'll tell you that much. Before I'd found this millipede, I'd never seen one like it, so it's like one of my prized insects inside my terrarium. So I love when I can at least get a glimpse of him out in the open. But I didn't expect him to come face to face with the terrarium predator, and I was freaking. I was recording this earwig on the glass, and then when I panned down, I saw all these isopods in the corner, which is pretty normal for them to do at night. But then I saw some movement under the wood, and it was the centipede. I couldn't believe it. Like, the centipede, it's also quite elusive. It lives under this bit of wood. But if you look closely at the centipede, it's not actually red. And I was shocked, because I only learned about this recently. When I was looking for centipedes, I noticed a blue one in the bricks that I get all my insects from, and I thought it was some special centipede or whatever. But turns out just after they shed their skin, they turn blue, or the exposed soft skin underneath is blue, and after a bit of time it goes back to red, their normal color. So seeing my centipede blue, I was shocked. I couldn't believe it, because I knew that it had just shed its skin, and that was the first time I've seen it do that. I mean, I could look under the bit of wood for the skin, but I didn't really want to disturb it. I don't want to interfere too much in the ecosystem. I want it to be as natural as possible. But I could see all the isopods going under his bit of wood where he lives, and I was waiting for him to strike. I was hoping he was just gonna take one of the isopods and make a meal of him, and I'd be so interested to see that happen. But just look how bluish purple it is, it's crazy. The isopods were out in herds when I was recording this. And I always buzz out when I see how close and comfortable they are around the centipede, probably not knowing the danger that they're in. Anyway, I carried on looking around the tank and just seeing what everything was doing, and I noticed that the mascot isopod, I only call him the mascot because of his size, like he is huge compared to the other ones. Look at him. I don't even think he can fit in the tunnels because he's always usually around the top. And then I noticed old mate Earwig trying to escape, but that wasn't going to happen. And I saw that the microgreens were sprouting, so that'll be extra food and colour in the terrarium. But as I was looking at the microgreens, I noticed the centipede was heading over to where the millipede was, and I was getting pretty nervous. I know they eat millipedes, and that's my prized, one of my prized insects in the terrarium. So I was a little bit nervous about him eating my millipede. So I watched, and when I say I watched, I literally sat there in this next clip after this one and videoed for 12 minutes straight. But what happened at the end of the video, I did not expect. I don't know if my millipede sensed that he was in danger or what, but he was not in a good position. As you can see, the millipede is curled up or arched or whatever, and you can see the centipede right behind him, sniffing him out. So I turned the tank around and got a better view. Still not the best view, but it's the best I could do. In the moment, I swear he's going to eat this millipede, and that was it. I wasn't going to interrupt. I did think about interrupting, but I didn't want to. As I said, I want to keep this as natural as possible. If he eats this millipede, then I'll just let nature take its course. So I just sat there and I watched and waited and waited and I waited. You can literally see the centipede on the millipede. I was freaking. I was literally, any second now, it was going to happen. He was going to take this millipede and eat it. But then I saw something move behind the millipede, and to my surprise, an isopod came in, and it must have touched the centipede in the wrong way, because the centipede just ran off like a true predator. And the isopod didn't even realize, it just carried on like nothing happened. So I ended up following the centipede to see where it went, and it actually went under the pine cone, which is, I'm pretty sure, the home to a bunch of isopods, a bunch of earwigs, so I was expecting a battle to be happening under there. I hate how its legs look. Like it looks like a spider coming out of a little hole or something. It's gross. But something must have touched him under there that he didn't like, because he came bolting out of it. And I thought he was charging for the millipede. That millipede is just staying so still. I would be as well if I had a monster with 1,000 legs. That also this millipede, I suppose, has double the amount. I'd be freaked out, is what I was trying to say. But yeah, that centipede is way too close to that millipede for my liking. So the centipede was sitting there for a couple of minutes, and as you can see, the millipede is ever so slowly burrowing under the ground. And to my surprise, an isopod came to the rescue again, touched the centipede, and off it went again. Didn't want a piece of the isopod. But I just followed it. My eyes were glowed. Literally, I was so worried that it was just gonna circle around this plant and go back for the millipede, or it was gonna take one of these isopods, which would have been preferable. And I get it's kind of sad for it to go for isopods and stuff like that, but it's the way of life. It has to eat for the centipede to survive, so you can't really hate on it too much. I honestly started to wonder if these isopods wanted to be eaten, because they were just trampling this thing. Didn't care. But I kept checking back at the millipede to make sure that it was burrowing. I just wanted it to get below ground, away from the centipede. But I need to give props to those isopods, because they saved their millipede, I reckon. While the centipede was sitting there, I noticed something. I don't know how I didn't pick it up before, but look, directly under the centipede, there's baby isopods. My first baby isopods. I couldn't believe it. You can hear from my reaction in the video. They were tiny, and you know when bacteria is floating through space because it's so small, that's what they look like, just floating through the dirt. Look at them, they're so cute. But I couldn't believe it. My first baby isopods in the terrarium. Finally, I couldn't believe it. The next generation of isopods in my terrarium. I was stoked. I couldn't. It was such a good feeling. The thought did cross my mind that if they popped out of the ground right above them, they would just make popcorn for the centipede. But I was gobsmacked. I was beside myself. Anyway, I got bored of watching the centipede and thought I'd catch up with a few of the other residents in the terrarium. And something occurred to me. I realized that I hadn't seen my spider yet. I couldn't find him anywhere, and I was starting to get a bit worried. I noticed that there was a gap in the glass at the top. I must have bumped or something, and came to the conclusion that he must have gotten out. And I was pretty bummed about it, to be honest. I looked everywhere but couldn't find it. I just came to the conclusion that he must have gotten out. End of an era. Anyway, I kept looking around the tank and noticed these guys, and it doesn't look like much at the moment, but there's something in the scene that actually made me surprised. Another type of insect that I didn't know was in there. But we'll come back to that after I get my copium from the centipede. It's just interesting to watch. I was yeah, as I said, hoping to watch him get a feed and um, documented, and I don't know, I've just never seen it happen in real life. He kind of just sat there for a bit, moved around every now and again, um, but yeah, didn't really do much. But moving on from him again, I noticed another pregnant isopod. It's hard to tell on camera, but that's a pregnant isopod, the yellow on his belly. And these things, the isopods actually have a long lifespan. Like, I did not expect it. Isopods can live between 2 to 3 years. Years. Are you kidding me? And the babies take about, I think it was 50 days for the isopod to give birth after getting pregnant, which is crazy. That's such a long time. Like, when I think of insects and their reproduction rate, like, I think like days or weeks, not like months. Anyway, I continued looking around. I noticed one of the little tiny snails that I barely ever see. It's hanging on the leaf there. I don't know if you can see it. And then I went back to that white clump that was under those slaters that I mentioned before. I was shocked when I saw something move in the white, whatever that is. And I realized that I was actually looking at springtails. They're tiny little insects that you usually have in terrariums, as well as isopods, which help break down fungi and plant matter and decaying matter. And I was shocked because I didn't realize they could just be in the soil that I put into the terrarium. And I was wondering how I was going to get some just because of how small they were. So it was a pleasant surprise to see that they were already in my terrarium. When I look back to where the centipede and the millipede were, I was shocked to see that the millipede actually came back out of the ground from where he was burrowing, and I got nervous again and hoping that he wasn't going to get eaten. There's a slug on the leaf above him, and there's isopods around. I thought it was ironic how he's sitting exactly how the centipede, in the same place as where the centipede was before. Two completely different natured insects. Millipedes are so peaceful and like careful, and then the centipede is just a ruthless killer that lives in the terrarium or in the wild or whatever. But they look so similar, and I just had a little chuckle to see that the millipede was lying in the exact same spot that the centipede was not too long before that. Still nervous about how close he is to the centipede, but it seems to be alright. I don't know if they're hungry after they shed their skin, so that could be a saving grace or whatever, but yeah, I mean, take your pick, mate. There's a slug there, there's an isopod. I know they eat both. But at this point, I just believe the isopods are mocking him. They're making him look like a dumbass. I noticed that the slug activity in the terrarium was getting quite. Oh, there's quite a few slugs in there. Like, at first, there was one little tiny one that came in on the baby tears moss when I bought it and first made my terrarium. And then I noticed it getting bigger and bigger, and then out of nowhere, there's just more and more slugs popping up. As you can see, there's one eating a carrot, and then I noticed this little baby one on the glass. Um, I mean, I don't consider them too bad for the ecosystem because they're contributing, however you say that word, and that's another food source for the centipede, and I don't know what else eats them. I don't even know if I have anything else that would eat them in there. Because when I first made the terrarium, I was worried about insects like snails and slugs and stuff like that destroying all the plants, but it turns out that they're not actually doing as much damage as I thought. Like, there are bites out of the leaves and stuff, and maybe there is quite a few slugs, and maybe I need to get rid of a few, but yeah, they're not actually doing as bad as I thought. Anyway, we're coming to the end of the night, or the photo shoot of the bugs. Look at this awesome angle that I was trying to get. I noticed that the centipede went back home under its bit of wood, crocodile wood. All I could see is its legs dangling down. But in the end, I'm stoked that my millipede didn't get eaten, because that would have been a damper. And I was also I was so happy that I saw that my centipede was molted. I saw baby isopods in the terrarium. I saw springtails. There was a earwig on the ceiling where he shouldn't have been. There was, I don't know, a bunch of stuff, and I was I was so happy until I remembered my prize jumping spider. I was a little bit sad about that, and I wish I saw him. I wish I closed that glass properly, but it is what it is, I suppose. I'll miss you, buddy. Wait, I got home today and noticed old mate was still in there. Oh, he must have found a new hiding spot. But I'm glad that he's still there. Anyway, that's the end of another video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I was shocked by how much activity was happening in that terrarium. Um, but yeah, that's part of the package, I suppose. But don't forget about the raffle on the weekend, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, and whatever the words are. Catch you later.